Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the U.S. Valiant, watching the stars drift past the main viewing screen. The research vessel had been exploring the Outer Rim territories for 6 months now, mapping new star systems and looking for signs of life. It was quiet work, the kind that let a man think about home and the family he had left behind on Earth. The ship was small compared to the massive colony vessels that carried thousands of people to new worlds. The Valiant only had a crew of 43. Mostly scientists and engineers who spent their days studying rocks and taking readings from distant planets. Morrison liked it that way. After 20 years in the space service, he preferred the peaceful mission of exploration to the military duties he had performed in his younger days. Lieutenant Alex Hayes sat at the communications station, monitoring the standard channels that connected human settlements across the galaxy. Most days, the radio chatter was routine. Colony ships reporting their progress, research teams sharing discoveries, families sending messages back to Earth. It was the sound of humanity spreading peacefully through the stars. That morning started like any other. Morrison was reviewing the day's mission plans when Hayes suddenly straightened in his chair. The young officer pressed his headset closer to his ear, his face growing pale. "Captain," Hayes called out, his voice tight with concern. "I'm picking up a distress signal." Morrison moved quickly to the communications station. In all his years of service, he had heard plenty of distress calls. Ships lost power, equipment failed, people got sick or injured. But something in Hayes' expression told him this was different. "Put it through the speakers," Morrison ordered. The bridge fell, silent as the transmission crackled to life. The voice that came through was filled with terror and desperation. It was a woman, speaking fast, her words broken by static and the sound of explosions in the background. "This is Dr. Lisa Carter aboard the colony ship New Haven. We are under attack. Repeat, we are under attack. Unknown vessels have appeared in our system and are firing on our ship. We have families aboard, including children. Please, if anyone can hear this, we need help immediately." The transmission cut to static, then came back. This time, a different voice spoke, a man who sounded older. "New Haven to any human vessel. Our engines are damaged. We cannot escape. The attacking ships are unlike anything in our databases. They appear to be of alien origin. We are trying to evacuate to the planet's surface, but many of our people are trapped." Morrison felt his blood run cold. First contact with alien life had always been a possibility, but every human leader had hoped it would be peaceful. The discovery of life beyond Earth should have been a moment of celebration, not terror. "Hayes, get me a fix on their location," Morrison ordered. "Working on it, sir." Hayes's fingers flew over his controls. "Signal is coming from the Kepler 442 system, approximately 4 light-years from our current position." Morrison knew the system. The New Haven had been one of the newer colony ships, carrying 3,000 people to establish a settlement on the 4th planet. These were not soldiers or explorers. They were farmers, teachers, doctors, and engineers. Families looking for a new start on a distant world. "Doctor, are you still there?" Morrison spoke into the communications microphone. For a moment, there was only static. Then Carter's voice came through again, weaker now. "We're here, but not for long. The alien ships are massive, at least 10 times the size of our vessel. Their weapons are tearing through our hull like paper. We've lost life support on 3 decks. Many people are already dead." Morrison closed his eyes. The Valiant was a research ship, not a warship. It had no weapons, no armor, no way to fight alien vessels that could destroy a colony ship. But he could not simply listen to 3,000 people die. "Dr. Carter, this is Captain Morrison of the UES Valiant. We're 4 light-years from your position. Hold on as long as you can. Help is coming." It was a lie, and Morrison knew it. Even at maximum speed, the Valiant would take days to reach the Kepler 442 system. By then, the New Haven and everyone aboard would be dead. Hayes looked up from the station, his face grim. "Captain, I'm analyzing the background noise in their transmission. Those weapon signatures don't match anything in our databases, but they're consistent with military-grade plasma cannons. Whatever's attacking them has serious firepower." Morrison nodded slowly. His mind was racing, trying to think of options. The nearest human military base was even farther away than the Valiant. There were no armed ships in the area. The peaceful expansion of humanity through the galaxy had not prepared them for this moment. Then he remembered something from his military training, something he had hoped never to use. Deep in the ship's computer system was an emergency protocol that had been installed on every human vessel but never activated. It was a relic from the early days of space exploration, when humanity had prepared for the possibility of hostile contact. "Hayes, access emergency protocol 77 Alpha," Morrison said quietly. Hayes's eyes widened. "Sir, that's the deep space distress beacon. It hasn't been used in over 2 centuries. "I know what it is, Lieutenant. Activate it now." The emergency beacon was different from regular distress signals. It was designed to reach ships that were far away, ships that might be sleeping in the cold darkness between stars, ships that had been built for a different purpose than exploration or colonization. As Hayes worked at his console, the transmission from the New Haven came through again. This time, the voice was different. It was a child, probably no more than 10 years old. "Mommy says we have to go to the shelter now. The bad ships are coming closer. Are you going to help us?" Morrison felt his heart break. He had a daughter about that age back on Earth. The thought of her facing such terror made his hands shake with rage. "Yes, little one," he said into the microphone. "Help is coming. Be brave." The transmission cut to static, then went silent. Hayes looked up from his controls, his face pale. "The beacon is active, sir. Signal is transmitting on all emergency frequencies." Morrison stared at the viewing screen, watching the distant stars. Somewhere out there, ancient ships were receiving the signal. Ships that had been sleeping for 300 years, waiting for this moment. Ships that had been built not for peace but for war. He had just awakened the Deathworlder fleet. Deep in the Titan Nebula, where purple clouds of gas and dust blocked out the light of distant stars, something ancient stirred to life. The emergency beacon had traveled across the galaxy at the speed of light, reaching receivers that had been silent for 3 centuries. Inside the massive hull of the UES Nemesis, warning lights began to flash red. Admiral Kate Sullivan felt the cold bite of the revival chamber as warming systems brought her body back from cryosleep. The process was never pleasant, but she had done it many times before. Her muscles ached and her throat felt dry as she sat up on the metal table. Around her, other chambers were opening as the ship's senior officers awakened from their long sleep. The Nemesis was not like the peaceful ships that carried families to new worlds. It was a dreadnought built for one purpose only. The ship stretched for over 2 miles from bow to stern, its dark hull covered in weapons that could destroy entire fleets. It had been designed by humans who remembered the harsh lessons of their homeworld, where only the strong survived. Commander Ben Taylor was the first to reach the bridge after Sullivan. His legs were still shaky from cryosleep, but years of military training helped him focus on his duties. He moved quickly to the command console and began reading the reports that had accumulated while they slept. "Admiral," Taylor said, his voice hoarse, "we have an emergency beacon activation. Source is Captain Morrison aboard the UES Valiant. The signal indicates hostile alien contact with civilian casualties." Sullivan felt her blood grow cold. She had hoped this day would never come, but she had prepared for it all her life. The Deathworlder fleet existed because humanity had learned that peace was only possible when you were strong enough to defend it. "How long since the beacon was activated?" she asked. 18 hours, ma'am. The signal is still active." Sullivan nodded grimly. 18 hours was too long. If hostile aliens were attacking human colonies, many people were probably already dead, but it might not be too late to save some of them. "Begin fleet awakening protocols," she ordered. "All ships maximum priority." Throughout the nebula, other vessels began to stir. The U's Ragnarok, commanded by Captain Steve Parker, was even larger than the Nemesis. Its main guns could crack the surface of a planet. The UES Fury, under Captain Amy Rhodes, carried enough missiles to level entire cities. These were not exploration ships or colony vessels. They were instruments of war, built by a species that had clawed its way to the top of the food chain on a world where everything tried to kill you. As the fleet came online, Sullivan opened communication channels to human colonies throughout the galaxy. What she learned made her angry in a way she had not felt for centuries. The aliens were not just attacking one ship. They were systematically destroying human settlements. Across multiple star systems, the first report came from the Tau Ceti system, where a mining colony had gone silent 3 days ago. The second was from Volf 359, where a research station had been attacked without warning. The third was from Proxima Centauri, where the orbital defenses were barely holding against an alien blockade. "Ma'am," Taylor said, reading from his console, "I'm getting reports from 12 different systems. The attacks appear to be coordinated. This isn't random violence. This is organized warfare." Sullivan studied the tactical display showing the locations of the attacks. The pattern was clear. The aliens were targeting human settlements that were far from Earth, places where help would be slow to arrive. They were testing humanity's defenses, seeing how much they could get away with. "What do we know about these aliens?" Sullivan asked. "Intelligence is limited, but survivors describe them as reptilian, about 7 feet tall. Their ships are large and heavily armed. They call themselves the Zilani Empire. From what we can gather, they view humans as inferior beings that need to be eliminated." Sullivan felt a familiar anger building inside her. She had seen this pattern before in the history books of Earth, strong predators attacking what they thought were weak prey. The Zilani had made the same mistake that countless others had made throughout human history. They had confused peaceful behavior with weakness. "How many ships do we have available?" she asked. "The full Deathworlder fleet." "Ma'am, 47 capital ships including 12 dreadnoughts and 35 heavy cruisers. All crews are awakening now. We should be at full combat readiness within 6 hours." Sullivan smiled, but it was not a pleasant expression. 47 ships might not sound like much compared to the thousands of exploration and colony vessels scattered throughout human space. But these 47 ships carried more firepower than the rest of the human fleet combined. "Begin plotting courses to the attack systems," she ordered. "We'll divide into battle groups. I want rescue operations for any survivors, but our primary mission is to show these Zilani what happens when they attack human civilians." Captain Steve Parker's voice came through the communication system from the Ragnarok. "Admiral, my ship is ready for combat operations. Where do you want us?" "The Kepler 442 system, Captain. That's where this all started. If there are any survivors from the New Haven, we need to get them out. And if there are any Zilani ships still in the area, we need to make sure they understand their mistake." As the fleet prepared for battle, Sullivan thought about the human colonies that were under attack. Families who had traveled across the galaxy looking for new homes, children who had never known war, scientists and farmers and teachers who had chosen peace over conflict. The Zilani Empire was about to learn why Earth was classified as a death world. They were about to discover that humans had not spread peacefully through the galaxy because they were weak. They had chosen peace because they were strong enough to afford it. That choice was about to end. The Proxima Centauri system was burning when the first human warships arrived. Governor Tony Martinez watched from his command center as enemy plasma bolts struck the orbital defense platforms around New Genesis Colony. The shields flickered and died one by one, leaving the planet defenseless against the alien fleet. For 3 days, the Zilani had pounded the colony with their weapons. The underground shelters were packed with families, while the few remaining defense guns fired back. With everything they had, Martinez knew they could not hold much longer. The enemy ships were too big, too strong, and there were too many of them. Chief Engineer Rachel Stone ran through the corridors of the command center, her hands covered in grease and her uniform torn. She had been working without sleep for days, trying to keep the defense systems running. Every few minutes, another explosion would shake the building as enemy fire found its target. "Governor," she called out, breathing hard, "we've lost power to the eastern defense grid. The main reactor Is overloading. I don't think we can fix it in time. Martinez looked at the tactical display showing the enemy fleet. 15 large ships surrounded the planet, their weapons charging for another attack. His people had fought bravely, but courage alone could not stop plasma cannons that could melt steel. How much ammunition do we have left? He asked. Maybe an hour's worth, Stone replied. After that, we're defenseless. Dr. Chris Webb, the colony's chief medical officer, appeared at Martinez's side. His white coat was stained with blood from treating the wounded. The hospital was full of people hurt by falling debris and exploding power lines. Tony, Webb said quietly, we need to talk about evacuation. The children should be moved to the deepest shelters. If the orbital bombardment continues, the surface installations won't protect them. Martinez felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. 300,000 people lived on New Genesis. They were farmers, teachers, mechanics, and shopkeepers. They had come here to build a new life, not to die in a war they never asked. For Dot, suddenly the communication system crackled to life. A new voice came through, calm and professional. New Genesis Colony, this is Admiral Kate Sullivan aboard the UES Nemesis. We are entering the system now. Old defensive positions, stand down and prepare for fleet engagement. Martinez stared at the speaker in disbelief. He had never heard of the UES Nemesis, but the voice carried the authority of someone used to being obeyed. He looked at the tactical display, hoping to see new ships arriving to help. What he saw made him gasp. 3 massive vessels had appeared at the edge of the system, moving fast toward the planet. They were bigger than anything he had ever seen, their hulls dark and covered with weapons. These were not exploration ships or colony vessels. These were warships, built for killing. The Zilani fleet had noticed the new arrivals, too. Their ships began to turn, moving to face what they probably thought was another easy target. The lead Zilani vessel was 3 times the size of the largest human colony ship. Its reptilian crew confident in their superiority. Admiral Sullivan's voice came through the communication system again, but this time she was speaking to the enemy, Zilani. Vessels, this is Admiral Sullivan of the human Deathworlder fleet. You have attacked civilian populations and murdered innocent people. Surrender now or be destroyed. The Zilani commander's reply was filled with arrogance and contempt. His voice was harsh, like rocks grinding together. Pathetic humans, you send only 3 ships against our fleet. We will crush you like the insects you are, then finish killing your colonists. What happened next would be remembered in military history books for centuries. The UES Nemesis, still moving at incredible speed, opened fire while the Zilani fleet was still turning to face them. The first salvo of plasma beams struck 3 enemy ships simultaneously, cutting through their hulls like a hot knife through butter. The lead Zilani vessel exploded in a ball of fire that lit up the darkness of space. 2 more ships were torn apart by the human weapons, their crews dead before they could even return fire. The remaining Zilani ships scattered, trying to escape the devastating attack, but the human fleet was not finished. The UES Ragnarok, commanded by Captain Steve Parker, emerged from hyperspace directly behind the fleeing aliens. Its massive guns spoke once, and another enemy ship vanished in a burst of light. The UES Fury, under Captain Amy Rhodes, appeared on the other side of the alien formation, cutting off their escape route. The battle was over in less than 10 minutes. 15 Zilani ships had been reduced to floating wreckage, their crews dead, or dying in the cold vacuum of space. Only 2 enemy vessels managed to escape. Limping away toward the outer system at maximum speed, Governor Martinez watched the tactical display in amazement. The 3 human warships had destroyed an entire enemy fleet without taking a single hit. The aliens who had been so confident in their superiority were now running for their lives. New Genesis Colony, Admiral Sullivan's voice came through the speakers. The immediate threat has been eliminated. We are dispatching rescue teams to assist with medical care and repairs. Captain Ellen Price will coordinate recovery operations. Martinez activated his communication system with shaking hands. Admiral, this is Governor Martinez. We don't know how to thank you. You saved our lives. No thanks needed, Governor. We're just doing our job. But I need to ask you something important. Did any of the enemy ships land on your planet? Did they take prisoners or leave behind any equipment? Martinez thought for a moment. Yes, there was a small force that landed near the eastern settlement. They captured some of our people before retreating to their ship. We haven't heard from them since. We'll find them, Sullivan promised. And Governor, this war is just beginning. The Zilani Empire is large and they won't give up easily. But they've made a mistake. They've awakened something that was better left sleeping. As the human warships moved into orbit around New Genesis, Martinez felt a mixture of relief and fear. Relief that his people were safe, but fear about what would come next. The peaceful age of human expansion was over. The galaxy was about to learn what humans could do when they were truly angry. The sleeping giants were awake, and they were not in a forgiving mood. The news of the Proxima Centauri victory spread through human space like wildfire. On Earth, Dr. Peter Johnson sat in his xenobiology laboratory, watching the news reports with growing anger. The pictures showed the wreckage of human colonies, the bodies of innocent families, and the cold faces of Zilani prisoners who showed no remorse for their actions. For 300 years, humanity had chosen the path of peace. They had spread through the galaxy slowly, carefully, always trying to avoid conflict. But the Zilani had mistaken that kindness for weakness. They had murdered children and destroyed homes, thinking humans would not fight back. Dr. Johnson was not a soldier. He was a scientist who studied alien life forms, hoping to understand the universe better. But as he watched the reports of Zilani atrocities, he felt something he had never experienced before. He wanted revenge. Admiral Kate Sullivan received the reports from her intelligence officers aboard the UES Nemesis. Captain Ellen Price had led the rescue teams on New Genesis, and what they found in the eastern settlement made even hardened soldiers sick with rage. The Zilani had not just killed the colonists. They had tortured them, using them for medical experiments to learn about human biology. "Ma'am," Commander Ben Taylor said, his voice tight with controlled anger, "we've confirmed similar attacks on 17 different human colonies. The pattern is always the same. They attack civilian targets, capture survivors for experimentation, then destroy everything they can't use." Sullivan studied the tactical display showing Zilani fleet movements. Throughout the sector, the enemy was not just randomly attacking human settlements. They were following a plan, a systematic campaign to wipe out humanity colony by colony. "What about the Galactic Council?" she asked. "Have they responded to our requests for support?" Taylor shook his head. "Ambassador Linda Foster has been trying to get their attention for days. They keep saying this is a minor territorial dispute between two young species. They don't want to get involved." Sullivan felt her jaw tighten. The Galactic Council was made up of older alien species who had reached the stars millions of years ago. They looked down on both humans and Zilani as children playing with dangerous toys. They had no idea what they were dealing with. "Then we handle this ourselves," she decided. "Signal the fleet. We're going to show the Zilani what happens when they attack human civilians." Captain Steve Parker received the orders aboard the U's Ragnarok. His ship was the most heavily armed vessel in the human fleet, carrying weapons that could destroy entire planets. For 3 centuries, those weapons had remained silent. Now they would speak with the voice of human anger. The first target was the Zilani forward base on Arcturus 7. Intelligence reports showed it was a major supply depot, feeding the enemy war machine that was attacking human colonies. Captain Amy Rhodes led the assault with her ship, the UES Fury. While Parker provided heavy fire support, the battle was over before it began. The Zilani had built their base expecting to face peaceful exploration ships, not military dreadnoughts. The human fleet appeared out of hyperspace and opened fire immediately. The enemy shields collapsed under the first salvo, and the base was reduced to molten metal within minutes. But it was what they found in the base's databanks that changed everything. Captain Rhodes led the boarding party herself, moving through the smoking ruins of the command center. The computers were still working, protected by the base's emergency power systems. Admiral, Rhodes reported over the communication system. You need to see this. The Zilani have detailed plans for something they call the final solution. They're planning to wipe out every human colony in the galaxy. The data was transmitted to the Nemesis, where Sullivan and her staff studied it with growing horror. The Zilani had star charts showing every known human settlement. They had biological weapons designed to target human DNA. They had prison camps where they planned to hold human survivors for medical experiments. Most shocking of all, they had recordings of high-ranking Zilani officials discussing their plans. The voices were cold and calculating, talking about humans like they were animals to be exterminated. They're not just trying to win territory, Sullivan realized. They want to commit genocide. The discovery was transmitted to every human world simultaneously. Peaceful colonists who had never considered violence found themselves demanding action. Farmers picked up weapons. Teachers volunteered for military service. Scientists like Dr. Johnson joined the growing chorus calling for total war. On Earth, the president called an emergency session of the Human Assembly. For the first time in centuries, every human world voted unanimously for the same resolution. Total war against the Zilani Empire, with no restrictions on military action. Supreme Admiral Vextar of the Zilani fleet received the reports of the Arcturus 7 attack in his command ship. The massive reptilian warrior had been leading the genocide campaign, confident that humans were too weak to resist effectively. The loss of the forward base was troubling, but not unexpected. These humans have some military capability, he told his subordinates, but they are still just a young species. We have fought wars for thousands of years. We will adapt our tactics and crush them. Vextar was wrong. He was thinking like a predator who had always been at the top of the food chain. He did not understand that humans were not just another prey species. They were predators too, and they had been hiding their true nature for 3 centuries. The war was about to escalate far beyond anything the galaxy had seen before. The Zilani had awakened something that had been sleeping since humans first left their violent homeworld. They had awakened the killers that had conquered Earth, and now those killers were looking for new prey. Colonel Danny Wright prepared his Marine battalions for the ground assaults that would follow. Captain Roy Mitchell readied his squadron for deep strike missions into enemy territory. Captain Nicole Anderson loaded her ship with the special weapons that had been kept in storage. For 300 years, the gloves were coming off. The galaxy was about to learn why Earth was called a death world and why its children were more dangerous than anyone had imagined. The final battle began at Kepler Station, a massive space platform that served as the main trading hub for the Outer Rim territories. The station had been neutral ground for decades, where different alien species met to trade goods and share information. Now it was about to become the site of the largest space battle in galactic history. Ambassador Linda Foster stood in the council chamber aboard the station, facing representatives from the Arxian Republic and the Kaleri Trade Federation. These were the 2 most powerful members of the Galactic Council, ancient species who had ruled the galaxy for millions of years. They had finally decided to intervene in the Human-Zilani War, but not in the way humanity had hoped. The human military response has been excessive, declared High Counselor Thexani of the Arxians. His blue-skinned face showed no emotion as he spoke. Your species has destroyed entire Zilani fleets and bases. This level of violence threatens the stability of our sector. Trade Minister Colvin of the Kaleri nodded his agreement. The insect-like alien's compound eyes reflected the lights of the chamber as he spoke. The Kaleri Federation has economic interests throughout this region. Your war is disrupting our trade routes and costing us billions of credits. Foster tried to keep her voice calm, but inside she was burning with anger. The Zilani were planning genocide. They wanted to wipe out every human colony in the galaxy. We found the proof in their own computers. Young species often make threats they cannot carry out, Thexani replied dismissively. The Arxians have dealt with many such conflicts over the millennia. Violence is never the answer. The Galactic Council has decided to impose a ceasefire, Colvin announced. Both human and Zilani fleets will withdraw to their home systems. Any violation of this order will result in Council intervention. Foster felt her heart sink. The Council was not trying to help. They were trying to stop humanity from defending itself. They still saw humans as children who needed to be controlled, not as equals who deserved protection. And if we refuse? She asked. Then you will face the combined fleets of the Arxian Republic and the Kaleri Federation, the Ixani said. Coldly. We have over 3,000 ships in this sector. Your entire fleet numbers less than 50 vessels. Admiral Kate Sullivan received Foster's report aboard the UES Nemesis. The human fleet was assembled near Kepler Station, ready for the final assault on the Zilani home system. But now they faced a new enemy, one that claimed to represent peace and order in the galaxy. Ma'am, Commander Ben Taylor reported, sensors are detecting massive fleet movements. The Arxians and Kaleri are bringing everything they have. I count over 2,000 ships heading our way. Sullivan studied the tactical display. The enemy fleet was enormous, bigger than anything humanity had ever faced. The alien ships were old but well-maintained, their weapons and shields upgraded over millions of years of technological advancement. Signal the fleet, she ordered. All ships, prepare for battle. We're going to show these ancient species what happens when they mistake mercy for weakness. Captain Steve Parker aboard the UES Ragnarok was the first to respond. Admiral, my ship is ready. We've been sleeping for 300 years, waiting for this moment. Let's show them what humans can do. Captain Amy Rhodes on the UES Fury was. Next, all weapons charged and ready, ma'am. The crew is eager to fight. One by one, the other human ships reported their readiness. Captain Roy Mitchell, Captain Nicole Anderson, Captain Carl Thompson, and dozens of other commanders who had trained their entire lives for this moment. They were outnumbered 60 to 1, but they were not afraid. The battle began when the Allied alien fleet dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation. Their ships stretched across space like a metal wall, their weapons already charging. Hi. Counselor Thexania's voice came through the communication system. Human vessels, you are ordered to surrender immediately. Your continued resistance will only result in unnecessary casualties. Admiral Sullivan's reply was broadcast on all frequencies, so that every ship in both fleets could hear it. This is Admiral Kate Sullivan of the human Deathworlder fleet. You have chosen to stand with genocidal murderers against innocent civilians. You have chosen to threaten the children and families we are sworn to protect. You have made a terrible mistake. The human fleet moved as one, accelerating toward the enemy formation at maximum speed. The alien commanders expected them to spread out, to try to avoid the concentrated firepower of the larger fleet. Instead, the humans did something that went against all military logic. They stayed together, focusing their attack on a single point in the enemy line. The UE's Nemesis led the charge, its massive guns firing continuously. The alien shields flickered and died under the sustained assault. The Ragnarok followed, its planet-cracking weapons tearing through enemy hulls like paper. The Fury launched a spread of antimatter torpedoes that vaporized 3 alien ships in a single explosion. The battle should have been over in minutes. The aliens had superior numbers and technology. But they had made the same mistake as the Zilani. They had underestimated what humans could do when they were truly angry, the human ships fought with a fury that shocked their enemies. They used tactics that no civilized species would consider, ramming damaged ships into enemy formations, overloading their reactors to create massive explosions, sacrificing themselves to save their comrades. Captain Thompson's ship, the UES Thunder, was surrounded by enemy vessels and taking heavy damage. Instead of trying to escape, he set course for the alien flagship and pushed his engines past their safety limits. The Thunder exploded in a ball of fire that took out 5 enemy ships. Including the command vessel, the alien fleet began to break apart. Ships that had fought together for millions of years suddenly found themselves facing an enemy that would not quit, would not surrender, would not show mercy. The humans kept coming, kept fighting, kept killing, even as their own ships were destroyed. Around them, Admiral Sullivan watched as the UES Nemesis took hit after hit, its hull burning and its crew dying. But she did not retreat. She had made a promise to protect human civilians, and she would keep that promise even if it cost her life. The battle lasted 4 hours. When it was over, the space around Kepler Station was filled with wreckage from both fleets. The alien alliance had been destroyed, their ships scattered or destroyed. The human fleet had won, but at a terrible cost. Only 12 human ships survived the battle. High Counselor Thexani, his flagship burning around him, sent a surrender message on all frequencies. The Arxian Republic yields. We did not understand. We were wrong. The Zilani Empire, seeing their allies defeated, sued for peace from their burning homeworld. Supreme Admiral Vextar's voice was broken as he transmitted the surrender. The Zilani Empire surrenders unconditionally. We will accept any terms you offer. Admiral Sullivan, her uniform torn and her face covered in smoke, accepted the surrender. The terms were harsh. Complete demilitarization of the Zilani military. War reparations for every human colony that had been attacked. And most importantly, the establishment of human monitoring stations throughout Zilani space to ensure they never again plan genocide. The Galactic Council, humbled by the display of human power, formally recognized humanity's right to defend itself. They granted full council membership with unprecedented privileges, including the right to maintain military forces throughout the galaxy. The war was over, but the galaxy had changed forever. The peaceful age of human expansion was finished. In its place was a new era where humanity's true nature was known to all. They were the children of a death world, and they would never again allow anyone to threaten their people. Captain Jake Morrison, whose decision to send that first distress signal had started it all, was awarded the highest human military honor. Dr. Lisa Carter, one of the few New Haven survivors, helped write the new laws that would govern human-alien relations for generations to come. The sleeping giants had awakened, and the galaxy would never be the same.